Let me say this plainly. You didn't wake up one day and change. You didn't become cold. You didn't stop trying. You got tired. Tired of being the only one initiating conversations. Tired of being the only one asking for counseling. Tired of being the only one praying, planning, forgiving, adjusting, and hoping. And somewhere along the way, your spouse looked at you and said, "You're not the same anymore." No. You're just exhausted from carrying a marriage that was supposed to be shared. In real marriage, real talk, we need to name this correctly. What people often call you changed is really emotional survival. You stopped over-explaining, you stopped chasing conversations that went nowhere. You stopped pouring into someone who wouldn't meet you halfway. Not because you stopped loving, but because loving alone started costing you your peace, your joy, and your sense of self. And here's the hard truth. When one spouse carries the emotional, spiritual, and relational weight alone for too long, something has to give. That doesn't make you rebellious. It makes you human. Let's bring scripture into this, because marriage was never designed for one person to bear alone. Ecclesiastes tells us, 2 are better than 1. If either of them falls, one can help the other up. But what happens when you're the only one lifting? What happens when you fall and no one reaches back? That's not covenant functioning. That's quiet neglect. And here's where guilt sneaks in, especially for believers. You tell yourself, I just need to be more patient. I just need to pray harder. I just need to submit more. But hear me clearly. Submission does not mean silent suffering. Patience does not mean emotional abandonment. And endurance does not mean erasing yourself to keep peace. When you finally stop overfunctioning, the dynamic shifts. The spouse who benefited from your emotional labor suddenly feels the absence. Not because they lost you, but because they lost the work you were doing for both of you. So they call it, you changed. You're distant. You're cold. But what really changed is this. You stopped carrying what was never meant to be yours alone. And let me say something that may sting, but it's truth. Your exhaustion is information. It's your soul saying, I can't keep pouring from an empty place. This is the turning point. Pulling back doesn't have to mean giving up, but it does mean telling the truth. Real conversation sounds like, I'm not withdrawing to punish you, I'm pulling back because I've been carrying us alone, and it's breaking me. If your spouse responds with curiosity, humility, and willingness to grow, there is space for healing. But if they respond with defensiveness, blame, or silence, that tells you something too. Marriage can be restored. But it cannot be restored by one person doing all the work. Even Jesus didn't carry his cross alone. Let me leave you with this. You didn't change. You woke up. You woke up to the cost of carrying a marriage alone. You woke up to the truth that love requires participation. And you woke up to the reality that preserving yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. If this message resonated, you are not alone, and you are not crazy. This is more common than people admit. If you want deeper tools, prayer, and real conversations like this, subscribe and join the RMRT community. And if this spoke to your heart, share it with someone who's been carrying more than their share. Because real marriage takes two. And real talk starts with the truth.